Righty. By my clock, it's gone exactly 3:30, so let's kick off. I'll go across to number 2 here, which is kind of where we're at, and I hope this is where you're expecting to be. Advanced Solutions with Visual Studio LightSwitch. Now, you may notice that this is a 200 level session, and it's called Advanced. Interesting, huh? Those are kind of a bit confused. I did struggle with how to level this session, because LightSwitch inherently is a fairly simple to use application. You can do some very advanced things without writing any code, and 200 level basically means we open up Visual Studio and show you some stuff, but we don't get too deep into the code. Whereas 300 means that we're going to sort of do a fair bit of coding, and 400 means we're probably going to break out the debugger. So it's probably about a 240, 250 level session. Okay, maybe 257, I don't know. But I decided to round down rather than round up. If you're going to tweet about stuff, then hash dev213, hash AUTechEd, and hash anything else that you think is appropriate. My Twitter handle's down the bottom there. Please feel free to use it, abuse it, etc. A couple of things I wanted to quickly go through before we kicked off. Who was in my session yesterday? Excellent. So you're all in the running for this. Very, very attractive piece of clothing. I actually did hear the other day that Microsoft is the second biggest clothing company in the world. The person who told me was lying, of course, but that's what I heard. Let's do that this way. I have a slogan that I did try out a couple of times in the session at the last one. So let's have a quick show of hands. Put your hand up if you think you can know one of the words, and I'm going to let you keep guessing until you get a word wrong, and then I'm going to ask the next person. Yes, sir? Web. Oh, no, not actually. Okay, yes? Business. I like it. Get another guess? Application. Yes? Desktop. Wait. Cloud. And there's one more word. Oh, so close. Who else wants to have a go? Hang on, you can't yell out. I've got to choose someone. Yes, sir. Simple, not quite. Yes, sir. Simplest. Well done. The simplest way. Where are you? Well done. Good job. Okay, so LightSwitch, Visual Studio LightSwitch, the simplest way to build business applications for the desktop and the cloud. Now, I have a little asterisk there. I don't have it on there, but let's pretend there is one. I've got asterisks later, just in case we need them. But the asterisk is actually, it's easy to create a write-only application in LightSwitch. The thing that LightSwitch doesn't ship with out of the box is a good reporting engine. Okay, I wanted to make sure you guys knew that, because there are that's something that it's definitely worth being aware of. There are a couple of workarounds for this, or a couple of solutions if you'd rather. The first one is, if you're only reporting against SQL databases, then use SQL Server reporting services. It's a great tool for that job. However, one of the really, really cool things about LightSwitch is that it federates data from a number of different sources. And to LightSwitch, the only place all the data live is in its own data workspace. So how do you get around that? Well, there are a couple of options. Infragistics or component, well, one of the component vendors have a very nice reporting solution that you can plug directly into LightSwitch. So there's a great option. And the other option is there are a couple of quite nice extensions that are available in the in the Visual Studio Gallery, which allow you to put stuff out to Word. So there's a couple of options there around reporting, but I did want to make sure I called that out because I forgot to do that in the intro session. I think it's a fairly important thing that V1 doesn't provide out of the box, a native reporting solution. So make sure I did that. All right. So those of you who are in I'm going to quickly, who wasn't in my first session? Yeah, a few, okay, excellent. I'm going to very quickly recap what we saw in the first session. Visual Studio LightSwitch is all about a forms over data experience. And at its very core, you describe your data, and you create some forms. Okay, that's all you have to do. And you can do some fairly sophisticated things just with that. I want to show a quick demo of something that probably should have gone in the other session as well, but we kind of ran out of time. So let me switch across to here. He said. So this is Visual Studio LightSwitch. I have a bookstore application I've started to build. I have books and authors related to each other. Now, in my application, in my organization, the book genre or the book style is actually stored in a SharePoint list. And the SharePoint list looks something like this. Yeah, fairly standard list. Thrillers, science, gardening, cooking, sci-fi, fantasy, technical, developer, programming, history, crime. Some of those perhaps should be in the same category, maybe the developer and the fantasy. But anyway, there's a whole list of things there. What I want to be able to do, though, is use those as a genre type in my application. So someone else can look after the list of genre types just through SharePoint, but my application can show those genre types. So let's see how easily LightSwitch does exactly that. So I go to my Solution Explorer, and my data sources, I'm going to add a data source. And last time you saw me attach to a database. This time I'm going to attach to SharePoint. I'll say Next. And it asks me where SharePoint, which SharePoint address it is. Only 2 PTs is enough nowadays, isn't it, for protocols? So it happens to be running on this local machine, but could be anything. It's just a standard URL. And in this SharePoint site, I have this list of genres. I've got a bunch of other lists as well that I could attach to. I'm just going to grab the genres list, and I'll click Finish. Now, this genre actually comes back with some information about the user information list, because if you know anything about SharePoint, then a bunch of user information stuff needs to go on as well, so that gets brought across automatically. But what I want to do is say I want to add a relationship now between the genre and the book. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say the ID, and I can add actually let me do it the other way around. Let's go to the book. And we'll add a relationship to genre. Okay. So now, what I can do is I have a relationship between disparate data sources, like I did before. But this one, in this case, happens to be a SharePoint list. So I'll click OK. Notice I get all this stuff in here you'd expect to get around foreign keys. Go back to properties here of this. The genre ID. I don't want it displayed by default, the genre ID, but I do want the genre. And when I do when I go back to my genre table, if you like, in the properties of the table itself, the summary property is the title, and that's what I want to be displayed when a genre is picked. The ID is what's going to get stored in my database. But what gets displayed in the drop-down list is coming from here. So let's see what happens now. I just need to quickly go into the authors. Well, I'm going to create a new screen. Let's add a screen for books. New data. Create new book. And book details is fine. And what you'll see in this list is that the genre is a drop-down list. It doesn't have to be. There's a number of other options here. I could have. The genre could be what we call a modal window picker, which allows me to pop up a window to choose from that list, including a whole bunch of stuff around searching. But we're just going to use the drop-down list. Pardon me. An autocomplete box, that'll do. And so now I've integrated something from a completely different data source. What I'll quickly do is add a screen for adding authors as well. Add screen, new data screen, new author. OK. And I'll make that the default screen, edit screen navigation, create new author, set that as the default screen and move it up. And so what happens now when I run this up? He said, waiting for it to load, it's compile. What happens now when I run this up is you'll see a screen asking me to add a new author, and I've done that because I didn't have any authors in the system. And action. So Tom Clancy. Tom without a Y. That'll do. And I'll save that. And now if I create a new book, Hunt for Red October. The genre list comes directly out of SharePoint. Yeah? This is very cool stuff. If I were to go and update the list in SharePoint, then that would get updated automatically here. It's just a connection that goes through. But this, if you like, transparent relationship between different data types is one of LightSwitch's really strong characteristics. All right. So I quickly, just to bring everyone else up to speed, while we were in the last session, we created a new application that was this one, Vision Clinic, which I've kind of updated and cleaned up. I actually also converted into Visual Basic. When I say I mean someone else. I stole their code. This is actually, all this stuff is actually from a woman named Beth Massey, who is a very, very prolific LightSwitch blogger. Has anyone heard of Beth? Beth used to be a VB person. Before that, does anyone know what she did? She was probably one of the preeminent FoxPro people. I'm just going to switch back and forth to see if we can get that screen back. Hang on a sec. Okay, hopefully we'll get all of the screen this time. It does its auto-adjusting, lovely. And so this screen, this Vision Clinic allows me to do a whole bunch of things, including if I bring up a particular person, I can look at the prescriptions they've had filled, including all this these things like the images that happen automatically when the prescription happened, notes and so on. Brian had the itch reliever last time, but anyone can have that. It's about your eyes. I don't know what you were thinking, but some very, very cool stuff going on here, and absolutely no code. Well, almost no code written. We've done a couple of little things with code to do things like a calculated field for the full name and a couple of validation things. But most of what we've done has been defined in metadata and has been picked up automatically by LightSwitch. We've got a whole lot of things that for nothing, if you like. In this grid here, we've automatically got an export to Excel. In the display, we've automatically got indications of which fields are compulsory, and so on. And we can keep going like that. And in fact, we are going to use this application as a launch pad, if you like, for the customization. We can do kind of further customization. So let's close this down. And let's have a little chat about what needs to happen next. What we've done behind the scenes here, and those of you who were in my previous session have seen this as well, but I want to make sure that everyone understands what we've done here. We've created a proper three-tier application, a fair income three-tier application, because it was written in Australia, right? Yeah? If it was in the States, it would be a no, can't say that. The three-tier application basically consists of a client tier, which can either be a Silverlight in-browser application or a Silverlight out-of-browser application. And this is very cool because it has all of our screens and methods and controls. It's basically the view model being represented with a view. It's a full MVVM architecture with a comprehensive data workspace with all of the things, all of the entities that are being manipulated, held in memory and data, and then passed with WCF RIA services through to the middle tier, which has got a very extensible submit pipeline. And the submit pipeline, which we'll have a look at in a minute, allows you to hook into all sorts of events like data being created, data being updated, data being deleted, and lots of other things as well. The cool thing about that submit pipeline is that we can do anything at the middle tier that we want to. Anything you can do in .NET, you can do in the middle tier. In fact, anything you can do in .NET, you can actually do in the client tier as well. But the cool bit here is kicking off workflows, doing a whole bunch of processing. Whatever you need to do can happen in here. The mantra I love for LightSwitch is that you should only write the code that only you can write. You should only write the code that only you can write. LightSwitch takes care of all of the plumbing bits. Yeah? I like to think of it as the other stuff. And you've got to make that big gesture when you talk about the other stuff. The thing that really is going to make you rich or famous or go home early or whatever it is not having to worry about the other stuff, because there's someone else going to worry about that. What's going to keep you employed or less busy or whatever you want it to be is the idea of writing the code that only you can write. Writing the code that makes sense to you as either the professional developer who's supporting end users, or the end user developer who has a particular problem to solve with a tool. So, we talked a bit about this, and I showed you SharePoint, and we've seen SQL Server. Rest assured that SQL Azure is just as easy as SQL Server. I'll show you right at the end a deployment to Azure and how easy that is. And then the other is WCF RIA services. So anything that you can wrap in a WCF RIA service, you can expose as another native data type or native data source to LightSwitch. That's very, very important because it means that we've got other covered. You know, where do you get data from? Well, I can get it from an entity framework source, a SQL source of some sort. I can get it from SharePoint, and I can get it from other. And other is everything else, which is very, very powerful. Other can be an object source that you've written yourself, or some sort of wrapper around a no data source or whatever. Very, very cool. So let's look at where the building blocks fit. We've kind of moved away from the first session now. We've sort of spent the first 10 minutes or so making sure that everyone's up to speed. But where do we go next? Well, this is where we go next. We hit the right button. LightSwitch is basically made up of 4 components. The LightSwitch bit itself, and there's a fantastic interview with the LightSwitch architects up on Channel 9. If you do a search for LightSwitch architecture on the Channel 9 site, channel9.msdn.com, there's about an hour and a half of 2 of the principal architects from LightSwitch chatting about how this stuff gets put together and where these things all fit. But basically, these are the components. These are our building blocks in LightSwitch itself that we get to build. We have screens, and the screens that we've seen are basically the view that supports the view model. We have queries, which is the data that come out. We have entities, which is if you like, the source of the data. And we have this business logic, which is the metadata that lives along with the rest of the system. Now, in addition to that, there's a whole bunch of things we can do with Visual Studio Professional that build on top of LightSwitch. We can write custom WCF services. And if we do that, then we've got access to the other bit. We can write additional Silverlight controls, and any Silverlight control can be embedded into a LightSwitch app. Just say, I want to add this LightSwitch control. And you've got to work out how the binding is going to work and those sorts of things, but that's fairly straightforward to do. And then over here on the left-hand side, on your right-hand side, this bit, the yellow one, just in case I get my left and right dyslexic again, are the things that are being provided by other people. Now, Jan Duren's not here. I wish he was, because Jan is a developer in Melbourne who has written a couple of extensions for LightSwitch. They're not terribly complex extensions. They're nice themes, and I'll show you what we can do with theming a bit later on. But they're the most popular downloads in the Visual Studio gallery for LightSwitch at the moment. Basically, they allow you to change the colors and schemes and themes that you saw before. But there's an ecosystem, a potential ecosystem out there for writing some very, very cool stuff, and I'm going to show you 1 or 2 plugins as we go later on. Custom controls, I'm going to show you a really neat custom control that takes the Bing map control and binds it to LightSwitch data to do automatic mapping of addresses in LightSwitch. There's a whole lot of screen templates. I don't know if you remember when I said a new screen, there were 5 different screen types in that list. They're the 5 that ship out of the box, but it's an extensible dialog, another place you can write things. The themes and shells are ways of changing the entire look and feel of your application without having to write any code. And I'm going to prove that to you in a little while as well. There's a very nice couple of themes that you can download right now. And of course, the business types, I think this is, in fact, in some ways, the most complicated and most powerful of the LightSwitch extension points. The business types are the things that are really going to shine, particularly, I think, in corporate IT, where what you can do is take a business rule, an internal business rule, might be the way purchase orders are done, or that maybe if you're in your bookstore, how do ISBNs get validated, or whatever it happens to be, and encapsulate that in what they call a business type. And the business type will have all the validation rules about what goes where, perhaps a bunch of stuff around formatting, some stuff around whether input, so what should it look like when you do input, as well as things around how it should get persisted in the database and rehydrated. And all that stuff gets encapsulated in a business rule, and then when your end user says, yeah, I want to put a purchase order in there, instead of saying a string type, they go, it's a purchase order. And all of that information, all of that knowledge gets encapsulated in that and put into your system automatically without having to be written again. So there's some very, very powerful stuff in there. So let's go from where we were, which is kind of the beginning, into the middle bit and talk about how we might do some of this refinement. Okie doke. So the first thing, someone came and asked me the other day, oh, well, your validation's all very well, but does it mean you fail every time something goes wrong? Or can you actually warn people about what's happening? Well, you can. Validation is very flexible in LightSwitch. So what we're going to do is I'm going to add in the patient's patient detail table. In fact, in the patient's data entity, I'm going to add some details about how Social Security number is validated. So at the moment, some custom validation in Social Security number. I'll just do this, maybe this, maybe this. That, how's that? We'll get back to properties in a minute. At the moment, the Social Security number is validated simply by a regex. It says if the regular expression is not the right one, if it doesn't match, this is just standard .NET code, right, behind here, then add property error. Remember, to do validation, what we do is we add an error to a collection of property errors, or entity errors, depending on what we're validating, and we can pop that up. And if there's anything in the collection before a save happens, in the error collection, then the save doesn't happen and the warning happens. But we can do some other stuff as well. So that's if me.ssn doesn't equal nothing. So, but if for me.ssn equals nothing, then what we really want to do is say, you know what? I don't want an error. I want a property result. But I do want to add something to the collection to warn these people that if you haven't filled in the SSN, then there could be bad things happening. So let's just results.add property result. And we're going to add a result that says no SSN means no billing. Do you want to get paid? And then I can add a severity. Validation severity, and I can make it a warning. Yeah? So I've now got the ability. Well, shall we run this up and see how it works, rather than me talking about it? Remember, I've defined this at the entity level too, by the way, so it doesn't matter which screen I'm talking about. I can create a new patient. Wilson, Glenn, Social Security. Oh no, sorry, we won't put a Social Security number in there at all. Now, did you notice that I went from having a red outline when I had an invalid Social Security number to a black outline now that I have no Social Security number? Once the validation kicked off. And I can either hover over, this sometimes works, or more accurately, I can do that. Do you want to get paid? But it's still going to let me save. No. So let's save that. And there he is. The validation is going to occur at whatever screen I'm on. See? Invalid Social Security number. Blank Social Security number, all good. Okay, so I think that's pretty cool. It means you've got a whole lot of stuff. The save could still go through, but it gave us a warning, and we could do with it as we will. And remember, of course, there's a whole bunch of other stuff we could do in the save pipeline, which we'll see later on. We could raise an error somewhere in a log if we needed to. You know, this person, this user was saved with no Social Security number. You know, you won't be able to bill them, make one up, or send the thugs around, whatever. You know, whatever needs to happen as part of that process. Okay. All right. Let's have a look at that save pipeline now, because I really think it's important to do this stuff to show you how this stuff works with the save pipeline. So I'm going to move my property over there. And Alt-Shift-Enter is going to get me back out of there. I love working at 1024 by 768. Has anyone done this to themselves on purpose? Working at 1024 by 768? It's a great fun thing to do. All right. So what I want to do, I've got this patient table, and one of the things that I really want to do is make sure I understand who's changed it and why, and what they changed it from and to, because being able to audit this stuff is quite important. Yeah, I do want to be able to make sure that I can figure out what's been changed and when, because that way I can roll stuff back if I have to. So building auditing is fairly straightforward. I'm going to go into the Entity Designer, not Team Foundation Server, that one. I'm going to add a new table. And this is the patient change table. Changera. Patient changera table. Patient changes, I don't need to display the ID, but what I do need is the action, which is a string, whether it was updated, deleted, or whatever. I want who it was changed by, which is going to be another string. And we won't make that required. Oh, yeah, that'll do. And then the original values, which we won't make required because what if there weren't the original values? Something's added one. The new values, which again won't be required because what if someone's deleted everything? And the updated time. And that's a date time. Cool. So the next thing we want to be able to do is write some code to do some validation. So the first thing I've got to do is when we create it, I want to automatically put a default value in the updated field. So I'll jump in here and say write code, and not in change. That's not where I want to go. I want to jump in here and say write code, and I want to say in the patient change created a snippet. Now notice there are lots and lots of things, lots and lots of places you can hook into at the entity level. Now there's the deleted, deleting, inserted, inserting, updated, updating, the validate method. All of those things are available for you to hook into. LightSwitch is very extensible in terms of where the hooks happen, and these happen at screen levels and at entity levels, just the same. So in the created method, we just want to say me.updated equals now. Yep, that's when it happened. That's a default value. Now, interestingly, there isn't a place in the declarative properties dialog that allows you to put a default value in, but you can do it here in the code. All right, and then what I need to do now is in the patient table. Oh, actually, I do want to add a relationship because when a patient changes, I might need to add a relationship here. Patient change to patient. A patient change must have a patient, and a patient can have many patient change instances. That's cool. All right. What I can do in patient is I can write some more code. In the updating, what I want to do is I want to go and find out what the old values were and what the new values are and store them into the patient changes table. Now, because I have a relationship between patient and patient changes, the data workspace has got a collection of changes for each of the patient objects. So a patient object will have a collection of patient changes because I've defined that in my relationships, yeah? And this one-to-many relationship here. So it's an object thing. And so the collection of patient changes actually has an add new method, which I can call and create stuff on the fly, which will get all submitted at the same time. So before anything gets written to the database, I'm writing stuff into memory, into the patient changes collection. Yeah? So let's do that. So I need to do this in the patient's updating. So I'm going to write some code. And in the updating, not the updated, the updating, before things happen here, yeah? So instead of you watching me write code, I'm going to get some I did earlier. Control-C. Control-V. And I did leave something out here that I need to make sure I remember. Okay, and I just need to say change dot updated. Action equals updated. I'd left that out of my snippet, and I found that out the other day, so I forgot to put it into my snippet again, but I've remembered to do it now. So what we've got, let's see what we've got here. Remember I said that the patient, so the patient that is updating, the entity that's updating is a patient type at the top here, yeah? What happens next is we say the collection of patient changes, we're going to add a new one. That change, now change, and the patient, so now we've got a double-way referral, yeah? The action type is updated. The person it was changed by is something we can hook out of the system with meter.application.user.fullname. And then I've just built a string. And I probably should have built it with a string builder rather than concatenating, I know. Yeah, it works. And then I've changed everything except if it's the ID, then I've ignored it. And then I've just said the original values are the old val string I've just built up, and the new values are the new val string. Yeah, and basically I've just concatenated everything together there. Do you want to see what's on the other side of the string.format? Basically it's the property name and the property original value and the property name and the property new value, and the carriage return line feed just allow me to obviously separate things out. So, does this make sense? Basically what we've done is we said, before you do the update, make sure you add something to the collection of changes. All right, so let's... I do need to do one more thing, so I'm going to save that. In fact, I'll save everything. And then in the Solution Explorer, I need to add some way of showing you what the changes are, right? So let's go here and add a screen. We're going to add a search screen for patient changes. Okay. All right, so now let's go and run it. And let's go and look at Glenn again, because there's a whole bunch of detail we haven't got about Glenn. I think, all right, so let's just say that Glenn's phone number, by the way, I can't never remember how to do these things, so it's a 6 to 1. You're a Sydney, you're a Melbourne boy, so it's a 3, and then I think 5555, 5555. I think your current number, Glenn, right? Doesn't think it's a valid number. Okay, that's because, you know what, I haven't updated the old format. So maybe your US number, Glenn, is probably better. 1 555 555 5555. How's that? That's better. That's a valid number. And the reason this is not a valid, the Australian number wasn't valid, is I showed you last time how the phone number code could get updated. I've just forgotten to add the Australian canonical phone format in here before the start. So there we go. And now when I press save, by the way, notice we've got this little icon up here that says, hey, there's a problem. It's a warning problem with this record. Before you press save, we get, that's all for free. We didn't actually code anything for that. That just comes out of the box. I'm going to save this. All right, so now let's go and have a look at the search patient changes. And here it is. Updated. Old values, new values. Phone number was nothing. Now the phone number's this. Now what's the problem here? Do you think I should be able to go and edit the changes, the audit table? No. I need the link happens automatically, right? Because it's a detail screen. I get the chance to turn that off. So let's just do that. I'm going to go here, action, and I'm going to say, do not show it as a link. And I'm going to press save, and hopefully it's going to write back, no, I'll have to do it the other way. I told you about this beta bug the other day. But you see it's not a link anymore. The problem is it hasn't written it back to the system, so I'll do it here as well. In here, action, do not show as a link. And now when I run this, and I go back to my patient changes, I've got a list of the things, but clicking on here does nothing. Yeah? Yeah, so, does everyone like that picture? In fact, I have a prize for anyone who can tell me. It's a rock. It is a rock, but where was it taken? Where was it taken? Ah. I think I might be on fairly safe ground with this one. Close, but not actually. I was probably jumping. All right. All right, we'll delve into that when we get to the clothing raffle later on. So the cool thing here is that I've now been able to add auditing details straight into the system. It's a little bit more advanced than than just drag and drop, but it is fairly straightforward still. We haven't done anything particularly difficult here, right? We've just taken advantage of the stuff that's in LightSwitch. You certainly haven't delved into anything that needed Visual Studio. Yeah, it's all still LightSwitch level stuff. All right, let's look at some advanced queries, because one of the things we really want to do sometimes is a little bit more advanced than the simple query engine about sorting, filtering, and so on that you might get in the standard query by designer. So let's have a look at this one over here. We've got one of the queries we built in the first session, the sorted products query. That's a good one to do. So over here, this sorted products query basically says, show me all the products that are sorted. Yeah. And what we're going to do is create a new query. In fact, create a new query here, products, add a query. And I'm going to base this query on the sorted products query. So the sorted product query just basically takes my product list and sorts it by name. But I only want the products that currently have a rebate or have any sort of rebate defined. So I don't know if you remember, but in our external data, we have a list of products and the rebates that are applied to them at various dates and times. What I really want is just a list of all the products that have rebates. I don't care about the ones that don't. So let's do that. And what I can do is, in my write code area here, in the pre-process query, I actually want to call this query, let's call it with products with rebates. With rebates. In the pre-process query, basically I get passed by reference the query that is going to get executed. Yeah? Up here I'm getting passed the query by reference. So I can do anything I like with it before it gets executed. So let's just say, I can now say query equals from P in query where P dot product rebates dot any. So now I've updated the query to just update the link statement before it gets sent anywhere else. It's pre-processing, so this will get passed through properly. So what I need to do now is I'll create a new screen, save that, go back, Alt Shift Enter, create a new screen here, and we'll make a products with rebates screen, and we'll call it a list and details screen. List and details based on products with rebates, and I want the product rebates that are associated with it. Notice how easy this metadata makes it to decide to do a parent-child relationship screen. Really, really straightforward. It knows about the relationships already. It knows about the collections that belong to particular entities. So I'll click OK. And what I can do now is press F5. And the products with rebates screen only will have the products that have rebates. So let's check that that's true. If that's mum, tell her I'm in the middle of something. Products with rebates. So over here we have products on the left. On the right we have the rebates that are associated with those products, but there are no products that don't have rebates because the query we've done makes a bunch of sense. Yeah, that's all it says. I only want the things with a product with a rebate. The point I'm making here is there are a lot of places you can hook in LightSwitch. Yeah? We still haven't got out of LightSwitch, by the way. This is all still the stuff that's available to your end user developer who doesn't have Visual Studio. They only have LightSwitch. Still haven't got out of LightSwitch. Very cool stuff. All right. So one of the things you might want to happen is to have some workflow. When you add a new patient, you might automatically want to add a new appointment because there might not be a point to having a patient until they've at least made one appointment. Yep. So let's hook up some workflow that we can make all this work together. All right. So I'm going to create a new table, the appointment table. And appointments have a start time. is the date time. They have an end time, as you might expect. Well, you might hope. I've certainly been to doctors where neither of those things are real. Some notes. Which is a string. Look, all of those are optional, right? Let's just add some rules about start time and finish time, which are validation rules that the start date's got to be before. In fact, I probably got to. Yeah. Save me watching me type. Did I do that? Yep. All right. So basically, I've said here, just check that the start time is not greater than the end time. Yeah. If it is, then we can, add a property error the same way as we did before. Patients, the appointments need a relationship back to a patient, obviously. Appointment's got to have a patient. A patient can have more than one appointment. Makes sense. And let's add a new appointment screen. Now, okay, we're going to add a new screen for the appointment, and it's a new screen, new data, new appointment. All right, and we're going to keep the appointment details, but nothing else. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add some additional data items to this screen. The first one I'm going to say it's a local property. It's an integer. It's not required. So I can pass a parameter to this appointment screen if I want to say that who the patient ID is. And this is the name of this is patient ID. Okay. And I'll go to properties. This is a parameter. Okay, so I've just put that in the metadata. Okay. Now, in my write code button here, what I can do is I can update the initialize data workspace, and this is where all the details go on about the initializing this screen. Remember I said data workspaces are where all of the data get kind of put together and stored and passed around before they get subbed back and forward between layers? Initializing happens here. So I get access into here. So it's basically an in-memory graph of what's going on, yeah? So, where are we? If me dot patient ID, so patient ID is now a property of the view model, dot has value, because I said it was nullable, so it has a has value property. Yeah, so if me.patientid.has value, then what I need to do is basically update the appointment's patient property, because remember the appointment has a patient property and the patient has a collection of appointments to go in both directions. I need to update the appointment's patient property with add a new appointment. Get a single patient from that patient ID, and that's who it is. So I'll show you what it means. Let's do this. It's easier. Just need this bit here. All right. Okay. So if I've passed in an ID, that's the first thing I checked, because I don't have to pass an ID into this form, but if I have passed an ID in, the patient that belongs to this appointment, if you like, I go and collect from an automatically generated query called patients single, and I pass in the patient ID. So LightSwitch takes care of all of that generating query stuff behind the scenes. It's actually got a method that said if you want to find a single patient, I've generated the method for you to go and find a single patient by patient ID. And I pass the patient ID in, I get a reference back to the patient ID, and I store that as part of the appointment entity. Well, that row of the appointment entity, for want of a better term. All right. So what I need to do next then is add some details about in the new appointment screen, in the new patient screen, to add a new appointment. So if I add a new patient, I want to be able to add a new appointment. So let's go back here. And in the new patient screen, create new patient, I can add a button. So right at the top in the screen command bar, I can add a button like this. And the button's going to be called New Appointment. That's great. Marvelous. Okay. And I'm going to write some code. In the edit, I'm going to edit the execute code. Now, by the way, notice that there's a couple of things I can write here. There's actually, in all these controls, a can execute as well. Can execute code. So that basically tells allows the system to hook in and work out whether it should disable the button. Yeah, and you can put anything you like behind that around checking whether the user's got valid access to it or whether the system's being updated at the moment or whatever else you want to do. Yeah? But I'm just going to write the execute code. And the execute code is basically going to say, it's just going to say me.application.show create new appointment. Now, I don't remember writing that method, but again, LightSwitch has taken care of the fact that it knows there's a screen called create new appointment. Yep. So it's created a method called show create new appointment. All this stuff's happened behind the scenes, and it's really, really powerful. And I'm going to pass in a parameter because I know I can. me.patientproperty.id. So now I've got the ability to go and, as soon as I create a new patient, hit the button that says create a new appointment. Now, there is a small problem at the moment with this. What happens when I save a patient is it says I close this screen and I show the default screen. I don't want to do that because then my button will never get displayed. So let's do that. And that, because I want to keep the screen up that I had before. All right. And then the other thing I want to do is in that can execute property that I showed you before, what I really want to do here is say I only want this to execute if I'm not in the middle of adding something. So let's go back over here. And I'll pop this in and I'll show you what it means. Okay. So my can execute code says if my entity state is not added, then I can execute. If I haven't just got to the entity and put it in there, the patient entity and put it in there, if the patient has already been added, if it's not currently in the process of not yet saved, is what that means, then I want the button to be enabled. So let's see how that works. So I'm going to create a new patient. By the way, here's my button, my new appointment button up the top here. That's the default icon for it, by the way. I can change all of those things, but that's the default icon. And when it's grayed out, that's what it looks like. I'll show you what it looks like when it's not grayed out. So this is me, actually. Probably that. That'll do. I'll save that. And watch what happens when I hit save. We get a validation issue, but this is now available. Yeah, this has gone from being grayed out to being green. I hope that, yeah, even on the washed out screen, I think you can probably tell that changed state. Yeah, and certainly I can hit it now, and it's going to show me the create new appointment. And what's more, it's already got me in as the patient. Yeah, pretty cool stuff. This powerful stuff we've done with LightSwitch is only done with LightSwitch so far. I haven't needed to jump into Visual Studio. Yeah, everything you've done here so far is all just the LightSwitch bits. Okay. let's sum up here a little bit what we've done. With just LightSwitch, we've got some really, really powerful capabilities. We get to get at the LightSwitch APIs, which you've seen is quite extensive. There's a whole lot of stuff that's generated automatically whenever we generate a new screen or create a new screen or another entity or another whatever. There's a whole lot of stuff that goes on. We've got access to the Silverlight and .NET frameworks. Yeah? You've seen in the code I've been writing, we've done the systems.txt for regular expressions and anything else we wanted to as well, we could have done right there. We've done a whole lot of, well, I haven't shown you the custom screen layouts, but you have got access to a whole lot of custom screen layout stuff. If we get time at the end, I'll show you a really cool custom, cool application that Beth Massey's written that shows some of this custom layout stuff. The save pipeline and the access control hooks. We talked a little bit about access control in the previous session, just a little bit. And the save pipeline I showed you today with the stuff we did around the audit table. We've got a whole lot of control over the queries and what happens to them with pre-processing. Yeah, so the complex queries that you can do, because it's all just LINQ, you've got really, really powerful control over how queries are done. We've got access to the code at the client and server project. So one of the things I haven't shown you yet in LightSwitch is, if I go back to here, everything I've shown you so far has been in what we call logical mode in LightSwitch. So over here on the right-hand side, screens and data sources and properties and so on are all in what we call logical mode. But if I go into File View, then this looks far more familiar to people who are Visual Studio developers, yeah? We have a server project, a common project, and a client project where a whole bunch of code goes. And I can do things like add references to any libraries I want to add into any one of those projects. I can, if I'm in Visual Studio, I can add additional projects to the solution, and then I can add references to those projects within the LightSwitch project, all in a very, very straightforward manner. So you can see what we've done is we've really hidden the complexity as much as possible from that end user developer, but we've made it as accessible as possible to the professional developer. Yeah, there's lots and lots of capabilities right there. Because we're running, in this particular case, in a desktop environment, we've got anything we want to do around com interop. And there's some great examples of people automating Office and lots of other things. We've got access directly to the hardware if we need to through com. All, again, still through LightSwitch. And finally, publishing to IIS or Azure. And at the end of this session, I'll show you how easy it is to publish to Windows Azure. And I'll hope that some of you will actually hit a site I've got up already to see if we can, prove how scalable it is. Now, if you want to use Visual Studio Professional or above as well, then you get all of that, plus you get a whole bunch of other things you can do. You can write your own data sources. You can write your own extensions. You can write your own custom controls. And there's a great deal of really cool information on the LightSwitch, on the MSDN LightSwitch website that show you how to do a lot of these things. If we get a chance right at the end, I might see if I can take you through one or two, but I'm guessing that we'll probably run out of time before that. But I am going to point you at a whole lot of really good videos and training, including the Visual Studio LightSwitch training kit. What I want to talk a little bit about now is some of the components that are in the ecosystem already. So let's have a look at how we might consume some of the extensions that are available. All right. I'm going to do a couple of things to update here. The first thing is in my, I'm going to go back to logical view because it's kind of simpler to work with. In my patients table, there are a couple of things I want to do. The first thing I want to do is add a country field. That's a string. And the other thing I want to do is add what I'm going to call a full address or a main address field. And the main address is going to be a concatenation of all of the address pieces. And the reason I want to do this is because Bing, the Bing geocoding API, takes an address as a full string and returns a Latin long. And we can use that to do some very cool stuff. So this is not something I want to save necessarily, but it is something I want to compute whenever I need it. So this is a computed field. I'm going to edit that method. And I'll just say result equals string dot format 0, 1, 3, 4, oops, and probably 5. Now I know I've left out 2. That's okay, under control. Except if it doesn't work, then I'll blame fat fingers. How's that? And the things I'm going to put in here are me.address1, me.address2, me.city, and me.state, me.postal code, and me.country. All right. So that's just going to return a concatenated string of the bits. And the thing I missed out, I've got 0 and 1. I've missed out the city. I don't need the city. State, postal code. That's all that seems to matter. That's kind of the best fit for this particular string. All right. So let's go in and do a couple of things. The first thing I need to do is find my extension. So this Bing map control doesn't ship out of the box with Visual Studio. I actually can get it, though, from the Visual Studio extensions gallery. So Tools, Extensions Manager. The things I've got installed, one of the things I've got installed is Bing map control. Now, I could just go and search for it in the downloads, and it's available to download for free, by the way. This is a LightSwitch-specific control. And so if you need to have LightSwitch installed for it to show up in your searches. But you can certainly do that. I've got my LightSwitch, I've got my control installed. I could disable it or uninstall it. I'm not going to in this particular case. What I need to do now is go into the properties for my project and have a look at the extensions that are available. And I'm going to add the Bing map control as an extension that's available. It's installed, but it's not currently available to the extension. This is essentially adding a reference to the control behind the scenes, right? But that's what I'm doing. So now what I can do is go back into, I'll save that. I'll go back into the patient table, the patient detail screen. And on the patient detail screen, I'm going to move all these address fields to the first column. Address 2, city, state, postal code. I need to add the country. And then the full name can stay where it is. Here, in the right-hand column, I'm going to add this main address. And the main address control type is going to be a Bing map control. Now, that didn't happen before. There was no option to have a Bing map control before. But LightSwitch knows that it's got a new control type because we installed it in the extensions. And it also knows that it takes type string. Except it binds to a string type. And so it shows it there because the full address is a string type. So let's do that. Now, if you've used Bing, you'll know that you need an API key, a Bing Maps API key. So I've gone and got one of those previously. And here, it's going to ask me for that there. So I should be able to find that here. Copy. Paste. The place to get this key is from the Bing website. When you download the control, it's got a whole lot of information about how to get that. All right? It's very straight. It's free. It's very straightforward. But you do need an API key. It's so that if they find you abusing it, they can switch you off. Basically, yeah. They've got a way of doing it. So let's do this. F5. All right, so let's go to me over here. Nice. That's okay. Oh, that's because I've got a compulsory thing. So let's go Australia. Good start. 1, Epping Road, North Ryde, New South Wales, 21113. How good's that? Yeah? See the power of the things you can do. This is just a Silverlight control, and it's just with the binding, it's just set up to go and do exactly, just every time it gets updated, that field updated, it just goes and geocodes as well as it can and shows you where it is. It's very, very powerful stuff, I reckon. And it's just one of the extensions that's already available for LightSwitch. LightSwitch got released, by the way, on about the 24th or the 23rd or something of July. So it's just over a month old at RTM, and it's already got a thriving ecosystem. This is one that we've released, but there's a bunch of others out there as well. In fact, let me quickly show you. Cancel, I'm going to save that. Let me quickly show you in here, Tools, Extensions Manager. I'm going to search for, in the online gallery. Let's go LightSwitch. What do you mean? There we go. Lots and lots. Lots and lots. Luminous, this is the one that I was talking about with Jan Duran. It's actually not the top anymore, but it has been for a while. Very cool. The Metro theme's pretty neat. In fact, let me show you the Metro theme, because yes, we just released the source code for that, thanks Glenn, in the last day or so. So if you want to see how it's built, not only have we released the extension, we've also released the source code. So let me close that, and it's really easy to make this stuff work. Remember what this thing's looked like so far? What I'm, in terms of the UI. Let me go in here, and I'm just going to enable the Metro theme. I'm going to go into the general properties, and in the theme, I'm going to say the Metro theme. And now when I press F5, he said, crossing his fingers, hoping I wasn't planning to do this demo, but ooh, how good is that? So now, if I go to me, it's not significantly different, but it's a different look and feel, yeah? I'd say we have completely changed the look and feel of the way it works. And in fact, there are some themes that are far more radically changed than this. Complete shells that change the way that the screens are displayed. Instead of being sort of on top of each other, they're spread out like cards or whatever. Because it's Silverlight, you can do anything you like. Yeah? But there's some really neat stuff you can do with this. Yep, you can move around where the menus are. That changes the colours and the designs. I don't know if you remember the design screen button looked different in the other theme. It had this kind of a pencil writing on a bit of paper, and now they've got a much more sort of authentically digital cog, whatever that means. Anyway, very, very cool stuff. Very, very cool stuff. All right. Let me switch back to here and have a quick chat about what we've talked about so far. Extensions are really, really easy to install. I showed you this already. They're just they're either in the extension manager, or they're directly in the or you get the V6 package to install automatically. They're actually quite simple to create as well. There's some really, really nice walkthroughs in the MSDN docs about how to create extensions for LightSwitch, and I'd strongly encourage you to have a play with that. There's lots of different places you can extend things. So in the LightSwitch shell itself, at design time, there's a whole bunch of things you can do around adding screen templates that make sense for you. The business types go across that client and middle tier. The controls and themes and shells, all of which we've kind of seen. I didn't show you a shell, but there are some shells you can get as well that completely change the look and feel. And then controls at the middle tier as well to do validation and those sorts of things. All of this stuff is places you can extend LightSwitch. And so LightSwitch, while it's great for end-user developers, and it's really a fantastic experience for end-user developers, as professional developers, this is the place we're going to shine, where we show how to extend LightSwitch. Yeah, very, very cool. Yeah, I've talked about lots of these things, shells and themes and business types and so on. And one of the really neat things that I think that happens here is that you can package these things as a whole if you want to. So you don't just have to say, here's a theme, and here's a business type, and if you want to, especially, and you might easily do this as a corporate IT department, you can say, these are the LightSwitch extensions that you need to have installed in a single V6 package. Make sure that's installed on the developer's LightSwitch machine, and then they've got access to all of the things. They might have that Bing map control as part of it. They might have a business type for purchase orders. They might have a theme or a shell that made it look and feel and conform with corporate standards. This stuff's all available in one package. So what do you need to build a LightSwitch extension? Well, Visual Studio 2010 Professional or above with Service Pack 1. You definitely need LightSwitch to build the extension and test it. You definitely need the Visual Studio 2010 SP1 SDK for building the V6 package. Now, what you don't need, but you certainly want, is the LightSwitch Extensibility Toolkit. This has been recently released, and it's a whole bunch of templates that allow you to very quickly start creating LightSwitch extensions. Yeah, just download that. And if you want to upload to the Visual Studio Gallery, then you can do that here as well. So these are kind of the optional two, and the top three are the compulsory ones, but you'd be mad if you didn't do this. All right. I did promise, and we have got a couple of minutes, that I was going to show you how easy it is to deploy something to Windows Azure. Yeah? And I also said that I might have a chance to show you quite a nicely customized screen that was all done in LightSwitch. So it looks like we'll have a chance to do at least one of those and maybe both. Let's do the Azure one first, yeah? Cool. All right. So I have a very simple application here. Very simple. It's basically a bookstore application with similar to the one I showed you on the other computer, but it only uses local data. I press F5. The only thing you'll notice that's different is this actually runs in a web browser, not on the desktop. Doesn't matter. I wanted to show you that this is easy to do as well. So we're actually running inside IE here. If I had Safari on a Mac, it would look very similar. So that's the standard sort of stuff. Yeah, this is. I can look for my books. I can drill down into a book itself. I can create a new book or an author. I can look at the list and details of books and authors and so on. That's all there. Yep, this is all the standard stuff I've shown you already. Anyone think I'm smoking in mirrors yet, or just smoking? Okay. What I want to do now is deploy this to Azure. So let's look at how easy that is to do. I'm going to go back to here. I'm going to right-click on the project. I'm going to say Publish. Now, the Publish wizard is going to bring up a number of different things. The first thing to notice, by the way, is that instead of being in debug mode, I'm in release mode at the top here. If I weren't in release mode, then I would get a little warning in my dialog that you'll see in a moment. With any luck, you'll see. There we go. You'll get a little warning in my dialog that says you're in debug mode. Are you sure you want to upload all your debug stuff? Because I've uploaded this once already, it starts me on the summary. But normally you'd start here. And it asks you, the first question it asks you is, do you want a desktop or a web application? Do you want to deploy this as a desktop or a web application? I'm going to deploy it as a web application. And then it says, where do you want this stuff to live? Do you want it to run on IIS locally somewhere, or do you want it to run on Windows Azure? I'll take the Azure option because that's the demo we're doing. It then asks you to go and connect to the Azure, connect to Windows Azure. Now, it does help you practice you in navigating the Windows Azure portal. Yeah, has anyone signed up for a Windows Azure account? Yeah, who's not signed up for a Windows Azure account? Yeah, leave your hand up if you've got an MSDN subscription. Okay, why haven't you signed up for an Azure account? They're free for you guys. You get a whole. There's no problem. This is really easy to do, and in fact, I'll tell you why it's so important you're going to in a minute when we get to the clothing raffle. So if I were to open the Windows Azure portal, I'd get the portal, which looks a bit like this. And it allows me to go and do all the things that I need to do around creating services and so on, including finding my, doing things like finding my subscription ID. I'm not going to go through all the details about finding my subscription ID. It's really straightforward. It's just in one of the dialog boxes on the right-hand side. Sorry, in one of the property boxes. But then it also asked me to tell Azure which certificate I'm going to use to manage Azure. So if you don't know, well, even if you do know, Azure likes to use certificates to authenticate the traffic going back and forward. And what you need to do is create a certificate and upload it to Azure. So if you haven't done that already, there's an option in this drop-down to create a new one. I happen to have one already. I could go and create a new self-signed certificate. I'm not going to because that uploading takes a little bit of time as well. I can copy the path and then I can go onto the portal and upload it to Azure and everyone's happy. Now Azure knows that it's me talking to it and so on. I click Next, and this takes a couple of moments because what's going to happen now is LightSwitch is going up to Azure with the credentials that I've just given it and it says, well, where could I put this application? What are the places in Azure I can put it? And which do you want it in staging or production? And all the other details. I'm going to put it in my service called Main Demo Service. I'm going to put it in my production slot, And the storage I'm going to use is my main demo storage. Now, I'm not going to go into a whole lot of the details about what these things mean. If you need to do that, there's a whole lot of great sessions around Azure. But basically, it says, where do you want to put things and how do you want it configured. Click Next. And then it says, well, you're going to have to use HTTPS to talk. So give me a certificate to do that as well. I created one of those myself, and I've uploaded it to Azure. Now, the one I've created is not from a trusted root authority. It's self-signed. And that might be fine if you've got people intranet only, or you might go to one of your own certificate authorities, or you can go and buy your own cert, the SSL cert to put up here. And that just goes into this dialog here. And we try and make it as easy as possible. We've got links about telling you how to do this stuff. Then it says, well, the databases you've created, where do you want to store them? And what I've got here is I'm storing the data in Windows Azure. So let's, in SQL Azure. If I Windows Plus here and show you into the... What I've got, particularly in this area here, is a fully qualified domain name onto a SQL Azure database. Yeah? And I've got the same fully qualified domain name here, but with a different user as the user ID. So the first one is my administrator details, so I can go up and create the database and update the schema and so on. And the second one is the one that the application will use, the credentials the application will use to access the data. Now, we try and do as good a job as possible in encouraging our end user developers to use best practices. And we say these things should be different. And there's actually a little, if they're not different, they happen to be in this case, if they're not different, there'll be a warning icon that says you should make these things different. And to make it even easier, we'll let you create a new database login. We want to make it as easy as possible for end users, developers not to shoot themselves in the foot by making the admin user the one that's the credentials for the application. So we do that. A certificate to sign our ZAP file. Yeah. Obviously, when you're putting stuff on Azure, there's a whole bunch of security issues that you need to figure out, and we've tried to make that as easy as possible. And then I click Next, and it gives me a summary, and I'll hit Publish. Now, I'm actually not going to hit Publish today. And the reason I'm not going to hit Publish is because it takes about 15 minutes for a Windows Azure application to get deployed and spun up. Fortunately, I have already deployed and spun it up. So, if you would like to hit codecdemo.cloudapp.net, which you can do with anything that runs Silverlight, so I'm sorry you guys with iPads. I'm a little bit sorry. What you're likely to get is a cert error. I'm not going to get it, I don't think, because I created the cert. But just ignore the cert error. Say yes, you'll go onto the website anyway. I promise the keylogger won't extract too much information from you. But you'll see that this looks very similar to the application we saw running locally. Yeah, no changes. It's all just running up on Azure. But you look up at the top there, it's actually running up there. And has anyone hit that yet? codecdemo.cloudapp.net. Are you getting what I expect you to get? Beautiful. Yeah? That's all you've got to do to make something run on Windows Azure. Pretty cool, huh? I think that's worth a round of applause. Yeah. I'll pass that on to the team. Thank you very much. All right. So, I probably haven't got time to show you the custom configured thing. I will just quickly say that we've got an opportunity to win some clothing. Let's start with the T-shirt. Isn't this a beautiful, beautiful piece of apparel? Yeah, it's just gorgeous. If you want to win one of these, then all you've got to do is tweet that URL, aka.ms/ls for LightSwitch, MS for Microsoft, AU for Australia, aka.ms/ls.lsmsau, #AUTechEd, #LightSwitch. And if you go down to the developer booth and show them you've tweeted that, they'll give you one of these. That's pretty cool. Even better. How good is this hoodie? Oh, you want one of those, don't you? So all you've got to do to get one of those is go down to the booth and show them you have Visual Studio LightSwitch installed on your machine. Either the trial version or a full version, I don't care. As long as you've got it on the machine, they'll give you a hoodie. Now, notice a little asterisk. I told you there'd be asterisks. Yeah, while stocks last. And finally, the pièce de résistance. In fact, I'm going to model this one. No, you can't have this one. This is mine. But there are 5 more of these. All you've got to do to get one of these is be one of the first 5 people to deploy a LightSwitch app to Azure and tweet the URL, again with LightSwitch, AU TechEd in the tweet, and show that with the URL and the app to the people down there. And the first 5 get one of these gorgeous stretch jackets. So, there's the clothing raffle done. I want to leave you with this, guys. This is a really important thing. I think that for me as a professional developer, the relationship I have with end user developers has always been somewhat strained, somewhat contentious. LightSwitch is going to really, really, really make a difference. Is that enough really? It's going to make a difference to that relationship. It's going to help bridge the gap between the frustration we have on the side of the end user developers not getting things done quickly enough and the frustration we have as professional developers for them not doing things professionally enough. We really are going to smooth over that gap in a fairly significant way. I think that I hope I've shown you today that it's not just a simple tool. There are some really advanced things you can do just with LightSwitch. And I hope that I've pointed you towards some of the fantastic features that you might be able to think about doing in terms of writing your own extensions. Yep. So I strongly commend this stuff to you. Where do you go next? Well, my session from Wednesday will be online sometime soon. If you go to australia.msteched.com, we'll make announcements about that. And all the other sessions, by the way, if you've missed any sessions you really want to see, every session has been recorded. And we're encoding them even as we speak to put up online. They'll end up on Channel 9. I'm going to be down in the developer area again tomorrow at 11 and 12:30, showing some more demos. The only URL you need to remember, other than the one you were going to tweet, is this one, msdn.com/lightswitch. That will take you everywhere else you need to go. If you need to talk to me, then my details are there. If you haven't already got the Coast to Coats badge, then come and see me and you can scan the tag. And I'll take questions up here at the end because we're pretty much out of time. I do hope that you complete your eval forms. They're very useful to us. And I thank you for your time and I hope you've had a good session.